Hi and welcome to the Outperforming the Environment series, where we talk to you about concepts, skills, tools that you can use to help you outperform your environment, to help you live a more abundant, more happy, more successful life, and to be more successful in all different areas of life, including business. A lot of what we talk about is focused on business, but at the same time I just want to point out that a lot of the principles, the things that we discuss can be related to other areas of life as well. We just talk about business because that's our passion, that's what we know, that's what we do, and we hope that what we're giving you here is impacting in your life. We hope that you're taking the practical advice that we give and you're implementing it some way, and that it's having a positive impact. So today we're going to be talking about conventional thinking and why, or which bits of conventional thinking we should avoid, because we're now living in, it's now 2014, and there's a lot of thinking, especially in business, of obsolete, old-fashioned thinking. Like we find a lot in our dealings with businesses in Zimbabwe where we live, that a lot of businesses are failing or struggling due simply to the fact that they are using old, obsolete strategies that are 20 years old, strategies that were relevant to an environment that no longer exists. And this is where conventional thinking, encourages us to think that way, but where it becomes so dangerous. And it's something that we don't even realize we're doing, because it used to work. Why won't it work now? And this is the way that we think. So if you find that you're saying those sort of things to yourself, you are in a conventional thinking trap and you are going down the wrong route. We need to avoid that as much as possible. And we need to, Simon, I hope you're going to share with us, how do we notice that we are going down that path?
Exactly.
Because it's so easy to not even realize that we're doing it, isn't it?
Yeah, the challenge with conventional thinking, it's a pattern of thinking that is controlled by past beliefs of things that used to work, and assumptions that used to explain things in the past but which are no longer relevant to a different environment. So you start continue running the patterns of thinking, and most of them, they are all have to do nothing to do with something factual. They become just beliefs. So the challenge with this conventional thinking is, let's give you examples of where you find that conventional thinking becomes a very dangerous kind of thinking, especially in this environment, where there is a tendency with most people who are traditional to, for example, separate between what they call theory and practice. Yeah. So the point is dismissing everything that is new and calling everything that is new to you as theory and as not practical. It's a very common thing that we find in organizations right now. When you talk to most leaders and managers, senior managers, when you try to introduce a new way of doing things, most of them, they continually they compare what you are telling them with what they already know, and then they make a comparison and make a decision to say, because they don't know, they've never experienced or they've never tried what you are saying, therefore it is theory. And in their traditional thinking, anything that is theoretical does not work in business. So that is a very dangerous kind of traditional thinking, conventional thinking, because by having that belief that everything that is new or you've never heard about, you automatically put it as theory, and then you believe that anything that is theory does not work, does not produce results. Already you are actually revolving around the same pattern, the same field of thinking. And once you are already in that same field of thinking, it means you are going to do the same things in the same way. All your decisions, you are making them in the same way, and you are producing the same kind of results. And this is now a very dangerous thing, Brendan, because when you do that, when the environment is changing, it means the gap between what you are supposed to produce in that environment and what you are actually producing is widening, because your thinking is locked up in that kind of traditional thinking. So this is the idea in terms of traditional thinking that everything that used to work, that's another concept of traditional thinking. Everything that used to work, once it stops working, then it must be something else that is causing things not to work and not the actual method or idea.
And confirm, like the new age business person, the new age successful person cannot afford to see that things have already changed. You must see the things changing before they change. Especially, and we've mentioned this before, but it is very, very important that we get this message across, that if you are a decision maker, if you're in a leadership position, you do not have the luxury of comfort. You do not have the luxury of not taking risks with your decision because of the people that are affected by the decisions you do and do not make. It should be a crime for people to be allowed to sit back and not do anything, for people to sit back and think that things will turn out okay because they did last year with this strategy. That should be a crime, because all the people underneath are the ones that are getting retrenched, the ones that can't put their kids in school, that are not putting food on the table anymore, simply because the leaders of those establishments did not make the right decisions. The leaders of those establishments were caught up in conventional thinking, and we're not seeing things for what they actually are. We're not seeing how quickly the environment is changing and how slowly they are adapting to the environmental change.
Yes.
And I'm not pointing fingers here and saying that I'm exempt from this. We all fall into this trap, but as effective leaders and as decision makers that have other people's lives at stake in our hands, we do not have the luxury of being scared to make that choice.
Exactly.
If we make mistakes by being bold, that is okay, as long as those mistakes are considered and we understand the risks before we make those decisions. But if we remain in that conventional thinking mode, we are never going to get ourselves out of the environment that we find ourselves in. We will never outperform the environment. We can only be a product of our environment if we only think conventionally. We're not saying, I just need to point this out in case people misunderstanding here. We're not saying that conventional thinking doesn't have its place. Conventional thinking is definitely necessary, but it must be mixed with unconventional thinking, because we must understand that we are the only ones that can get ourselves out of any undesirable situation. And that can only be done through unconventional thinking.
Yeah, basically what is important is to test everything on the ground based on results. So what we are saying is, conventional thinking, the problem with most conventional thinking, it stops people from trying new things. Because already when you're conventionally thinking conventionally, anything that doesn't sound conventional to you, it's already, you dismiss it as if it doesn't work. And also, there are certain situations where conventional methods of doing things and conventional methods of thinking, conventional theories will not work, and only unconventional theories will work. So this is why it's important, because most of the unconventional ways of thinking, they are coming from innovation. They are coming from innovation, they are coming from creativity, they are coming from generation of new ways of doing things. So as long as you don't have enough of unconventional thinking, enough of unconventional methods, it means you are not being creative in the organization. So what you are doing, actually simply doing, is what is called reproductive thinking. You see, you are just reproducing the things that have been thought before. So you are not moving forward. Example, if you look at SWOT analysis, the SWOT analysis from the people who created it, there was the convention that all threats are external and all strengths are internal, and opportunities are external, and all weaknesses are internal. So that is conventional. But if you really go into what the dynamics of how things have changed, you can also see that there are some threats which are also internal. There are also opportunities which are internal in an organization. So you are now getting unconventional, because you are looking at that, but also making sure that you are innovating on the way you look at things. So most companies are missing from a lot of internal opportunities because they only believe that according to the SWOT analysis, all opportunities are external. So there's a lot of companies which are losing out because they're not looking at the internal opportunities, which they are hidden at the moment, which they only need to uncover and they start producing more and better results. Yeah.
And unconventional thinking is just thinking about the same things differently. Like, I don't want people, if you're watching, don't get confused and think that unconventional is, bucking the system or changing things. It's taking the environment, taking the situation for what it is and approaching it differently. And this is how businessmen or entrepreneurs like Richard Branson have succeeded so phenomenally in business because of that unconventional approach, slightly different within the boundaries of the law and ethics and morals, but coming up with a different way, an innovative way, a better way of doing something, because this is what it's all about. That's what we do every single day. That is our job, is to come up with a better way of doing that thing, getting a result quicker, more efficiently, more profitably, more sustainably, and more effectively. Now, this is what it's about. So unconventional thinking is required. Don't find yourself in that trap that the way I thought last year is still relevant today. It is not. In any endeavor, it will not work the same, because you have grown. You are not the same as you were a year ago. The environment is not the same as it was yesterday, and unless you change, you're obsolete. And this is what we're all about. This is why we must continually be reminding ourselves, is how do we outperform the environment? By using the environment, by using what is there, by using our assets, by deploying everything that we can to get ourselves into a better situation.
Yeah, basically I think to sum up on conventional and unconventional thinking, you'll find that in business, the market leaders, people who lead in the market, they lead mostly based on some unconventional way of doing something within their business. This is what separates the rest of the mass of companies which are struggling from the leaders. In any market segment, you find that those who embrace more and more of unconventional thinking, they will actually get to a position that is completely different and that is way ahead than the others. Because traditional conventional thinking is about what everyone else is doing. So people will just copy someone because everyone else is doing it. That's what they try to do, to copy. So they become copycats. They are just copying what everyone else is doing. But those who become unconventional, they find a twist of doing things in a different way. Those are the ones who are actually finding themselves in a better unmatched position because of introduction of that unconventionality. And finally, I think looking at what you have talked about, there is in marketing, the whole beliefs, the conventional belief is that the more money you have, the more effective you become at marketing. And this is one of the critical major areas where most companies, they lose out big time because they can't think unconventionally. Because those who think unconventionally, with a very small fraction of a budget, they can outcompete companies that have huge budgets because they are approaching things just from being unconventional. So unconventional thinking is a great asset for companies that really want to make the difference and actually lead in their market.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Simon. Thank you for watching.